All right, this is a bit of a vulnerable story that I'm about to share with you. So I'm on this college tour to 100 colleges in 100 days back in 2021. This is the big idea that I had for the year. It was to follow up the 50 states. Oh no, this is 2022. Wow. This is to follow up the 50 states road trip that my buddies and I did the summer before, right? So it's spring of 2022. I'm driving to 100 colleges throughout the United States. And long story short, for the college tour, for some context, it didn't work out nearly how I thought it would, right? I was like, oh, I can do this daily vlog. I can interview all these people and everything. And then I can also drive and sleep in my car. It didn't work out, right? But I learned a lot, and this is a fun story that I get to share with you. A vulnerable story of the time I was caught in a snowstorm on the way to New Hampshire to see my buddy, right, at Dartmouth. So I'm driving up there, and out of nowhere, it starts to snow, right? Now, I'd been driving my car constantly. I think at this point, I probably had like 6,000 or 8,000 miles for the trip. And on top of that, I hadn't really replaced my tires in a very long time. So you can see where I'm going with this, right? Now I'm driving, and, I drove like 3 to 6 hours a day for the entire duration of the trip, right? So I was constantly going, and like that's a pretty big portion of your day. I listened to audiobooks. This is when I got really big into reading. I would come up with ideas in my head, and this is when I realized my creative virtuoso. I think that's the word. Yeah, I think that is the word. But anyways, it was a great time for discovery, but as well, I was very bored a lot of the time. And so I'm driving on the way up to see him, and it's like 6:30 at night, and it's pitch black dark outside, because it's like February. No, it's like March in New Hampshire with a snowstorm. And for whatever reason, right, I no longer have this platform. I deleted it, okay? But I open up Tinder, and I'm driving, potentially. I'll leave some plausible deniability in here. And I'm just glancing at my phone for a second, glance back on the road. Guys, it was a bad idea. It was a terrible idea, right? And anyways, 30 seconds of doing this, literally 30 seconds. I learned my lesson quick. I kid you not. I go over this bridge going like 55, 60 miles an hour, which was altogether a very stupid idea, okay? And we'll get to this in a second, why I'm telling you this story. And so I'm on this bridge, and it's just me, luckily, right? Because if someone else was beside me, this would have been terrible. And I'm going like this, and the tires go out from beneath me. I'm literally facing the guardrail. When I look up, I'm like, what did I do? I throw my phone on the ground, and I'm like, potentially, if I was doing this, there's a potential that I wasn't doing this. Maybe I'm just making this story up. I'm literally like facing this thing, like fearing for my life. I thought the car was gonna flip, right? So I'm driving, I go like this, and then I go like that. And I'm like, this all happens in a split second. I'm facing behind me. I'm like, holy cow, what is going on? I flip back around, and then the car comes back forward somehow. And I guess because God had his hand on me. And I'm trying to hold the steering wheel. I didn't touch the brakes at all because you're not supposed to do that. And I'm trying to regain control. And then I went too far over to the side. My heart was beating, so like maybe, it was just me tensing up or whatever. And I go down into this gully. And luckily, it wasn't too deep of snow because there was a chance I could have been stuck, right? And I stop, slam my brakes on, and I'm like, what just happened? I'm like, holy cow, I just allowed myself to get into that situation. Why did I do that? And I knew what the result would be, and I was bored and I should not have done this, right? I found myself in the ditch. Luckily, I was able to drive back up, get back on the highway, and I was dialed in. That was the most focused drive I've ever had. I was locked in for the rest of the way on the way up to see my buddy, right? I made a mistake. I paid for the consequences, and I'm lucky that I was spared from what I should have deserved in that situation, right? And so why am I telling you this story? One, I want to be vulnerable. I want to share the worst mistakes I've made, right? And that's up there with some of the bad mistakes, but definitely not one of the worst, but is really bad, right? And because I want a reminder, right? Or I want to remind you that if you don't take stock of your mistakes, they will come back to haunt you, right? So I'll dive into this in just a second. Just to connect the 2 points, I'm driving back tonight, and the thought is playing through my head of a vision that I probably shouldn't have had in my head of this female that I'm interested in right now. Once again, vulnerable, right? And whatever's happening, and I'm driving over this bridge, just a small bridge, and it's raining, and I skid over the thing, and I snap out of this thing, and I'm like, holy cow. Like, that's God telling me, hey, remember, buddy, I spared you last time. Don't make me do this again. Don't make me teach you that lesson one more time. And, it's twofold lesson. One, don't be distracted. Only be focused on the things that actually matter. But two, don't allow those thoughts to go through your head, right? Don't turn to those sources of distraction, because it's terrible. But anyways, this whole thing, I learned this experience. This literally happened just on the way home, that second part of the story. I learned from that. And the reason why I'm making this video is that you do not want to forget your mistakes, or else they'll come back to bite you in the butt, right? And the worst part about doing a mistake the second time or the third time is that you're familiar with the face, and the mistake comes back to see you and says, hey man, you didn't learn? Like, come on. There's nothing worse than, having to keep your head down. Like, I know, like, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. It's like, no, it will happen again, because you're allowing it to happen. You have to remember your mistakes so you don't do them again. You don't let them happen again, right? Yeah, I think that's honestly it. I don't think there's much more than that. It's just like, evaluate your mistakes, understand them, and don't allow yourself to commit the mistake again. Then give yourself a reminder so that you don't, so it doesn't happen, so that you're not caught in a bad situation, right? Because what's worse than making a mistake is making one that you've already made that you could have prevented. So you want to try your best to not do that. And yeah, that's the story of the time I literally almost died on the way to see my buddy in New Hampshire because of my own shortcomings, my own mistakes. Stay focused, stay alert, and keep the goal in mind. Don't let other things distract you, or else you will get thrown off course, and you won't achieve the destination on time. And if you're lucky, you might be able to do this once and learn from it, but don't allow yourself to do it a second time. Find a way to remember your mistakes so that you don't get caught in a gully in a snowstorm like I did. Why not us?